When we bought the property in 1981, 30 years ago, it was a swampy marshland, just a low-lying morass. We were a pioneer, having planted 5 acres of vines on one particular weekend, and that doubled the aggregate plantings on the Mornington Peninsula at that time. It would be fair to say that we were at the cutting edge of the interest in Italian grape varieties, not just here, but in the whole of Australia. We were the first people in the southern hemisphere, for example, to plant Arnese, that wonderful white variety from Piedmont in northwest Italy. We brought out a brand called the Garry Crittenden I, or E, but the letter I, range of Italian varieties, E for Italia. I'm Geppetto, the father. I'm the wood carver. My son, Rollo, who's now the winemaker, is Pinocchio. The Italian connection, the father, son. We thought there was a marketing story in that. In 2009, we made probably what's arguably the best Pinot ever to come off this property. I think our 2009 Zummer Pinot Noir has all the things I would look for. Weight, texture, still a very zingy, sort of almost an orange, zesty nose. I know people think of cherries and earthiness. Well, I don't know where that comes from. I like aromas that are reminiscent of an essential oil, and I can't think of any better description than an orange zest character for our Pinot. We have an all-embracing interest in not just Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, which are the preeminent varieties for this region. We now make a range of Spanish varieties. If you ask me what's the greatest grape variety in the world, it's a no-brainer, and that's Nebbiolo. There's nothing like Nebbiolo. I mean, Pinot Noir is wonderful, and it's second best, but Nebbiolo is the greatest grape in the world. It's a paradox of a grape variety. You know, the thing I find fascinating more than anything about the grape and wine industry is the unlimited diversity of things you can do with grapes. And we were amongst the first in this country to genuinely use indigenous yeast. I think soil culture is the thing for me. I'm fascinated to see in the last 4 years how we've turned around the soil biology. It's quite fascinating to see what we've been able to do by putting back compost into the vineyards, by not using herbicides. It's been a revelation. You know, my wife was convinced that we needed to have a cellar door. Then she was convinced that we needed a restaurant, so she embarked on a restaurant, and then she built these 3 lovely villas out over the lake. She's arguably made a more important contribution than I have, because she's been in the public arena, whereas I've tended to worry more about the viticulture and the winemaking. I never shoehorned either of my children into the business. I didn't want to create a dynasty. I didn't, you know, if we had to sell, well, we had to sell. Happily, my son, who went to Wagga to do wine science, has a natural affinity with it. It's quite fascinating to see him develop, because he was 6 when we actually came here to begin this project. He actually helped plant the 5 acres of Cabernet and grew up in a vineyard and wine culture, and it just seemed natural to him. And now he's just assumed the role of winemaker, and he's increasingly taking a day-to-day interest in the running of the business. My daughter Zoe looks after the marketing. Even though I'm approaching 70, I have no intention of just walking away from it. There's not a day that I don't wake up and look forward to coming to work. So I'll continue to do that as long as I can.